How do we prevent roleplay lockout at high levels of Pathfinder 2nd Edition? Hey everyone, Utkarsh from Spirit Belt Games here. In my previous videos, I talked about the pros and cons of adding levels to proficiency when it comes to Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And one of the cons I talked about is that at high levels, if a player is untrained in diplomacy, that character can feel like they are locked out of roleplay scenarios. So how do we address this? There are a whole lot of ways, and let's talk about each of them. But all of those different ways will lessen the niche protection that player characters get when they get to add their levels to proficiency, and if they're untrained, they don't. So let's talk about the first and maybe the most obvious answer, especially to people who know the pre-remaster version of the Game Master's Guide, which is the proficiency without level variant. In the proficiency without level variant, you do not add your level to your proficiency, and instead just keep the +2 from being trained, +4 from being expert, +6 from being master, and +8 from being legendary. That, along with item bonuses to skills, creates sufficient differentiation across player characters to make those who specialize in skills feel more rewarded and those who don't have it trained feel less rewarded. But with proficiency without level, we are also losing all of the other benefits we gain from adding level to proficiency. Our combat encounters become more swingy and less predictable by the encounter building guidelines. The tail of the meteoric rise to power becomes much more flattened out, so that at not that high levels, players could just get lucky and take out the Lich or a dragon. So it does feel like if we just go the full proficiency without level route, that we are throwing out all of the benefits of adding levels to proficiency. And it's up to you if you want to do that. That option is available to you. And you can see it in play in the Baldur's Gate 3's Pathfinder 2nd Edition mod. Check out that mod, play with it if you have Baldur's Gate 3 already, and you can see how proficiency without level works in a flatter, more sandboxy game. But there are other options for us that can prevent this roleplay lockout without feeling like you have to lose out on the other benefits, like the predictable encounters and the meteoric rise to power. One of them is allowing skill replacement. So if a character, such as a fighter, who does not have training in diplomacy wants to make a high-level diplomacy check, you can allow them to make another appropriate check, a replacement skill, with perhaps a slightly higher DC. This is officially the rule for how influence encounters are run, where in the influence subsystem, the GM is encouraged to provide multiple different skills that can influence a target NPC, not just diplomacy. So this is one option, but it's not my favorite option because to me it seems to tread again on not just niche protection, but also just the player choices that have been made. If one player has chosen to invest a lot in diplomacy and others have chosen to invest nothing, the skill substitution, especially to use their highest skill that's not diplomacy to this check with a slightly higher DC, I don't think just a slight adjustment in DC can compensate for it. It renders that choice of diplomacy less meaningful. So now we come to the third option, which is my favorite option, which is that if you think there's a skill that is core to how the players interact with the game, such as if you ask for diplomacy checks when players converse with other NPCs, then for those key skills, give all player characters the benefit of untrained improvisation. At level 3, give all players this untrained improvisation feat for free, but limited to those skills that you consider core in the game. So in a roleplay heavy game, it could be diplomacy, but also if the players are out in the tundra and there's going to be a lot of ice, like flat sheets of ice on which they need to balance, you could let them have this for acrobatics. Now, yes, this does infringe upon niche protection, but it lets you have all of the other benefits of adding levels to proficiency. Encounter building remains predictable, meteoric rise to power, all intact. Now, if you want to go truly hog wild, I haven't done this, I'm not even sure I recommend this, but this is an option, is you can give the skills that are core to your game, such as, again, could be diplomacy, the full perception treatment. Pathfinder 2nd Edition has recognized that perception is a core skill that every player will need to roll at some point, and so they've made it so that every player character is at least trained in that skill, and then they control when that skill is increased for each class. So you could take that diplomacy training, you could make it just auto increasing levels for all of the different classes, and then you are at that point game designing by deciding that, oh, the bard class should have a higher and faster rate of diplomacy increase than the sorcerer class, who should still have it higher and faster than the inventor class. So you can give your core campaign skills the full perception treatment if you so desire. Again, that is not what I would recommend though. If you go that route, the investment into the niche is no longer in the player's hand, and instead it goes into the GM's hand, and it's up to you if you think that's appropriate for your game. In the Patreon exclusive version, I talk a little bit more about niche protection, but it's a short segment compared to other Patreon exclusive segments. In the next episode, we will talk about the various ways of designing sandbox, given how difficult it is in the base game when we are adding levels to proficiencies. For now, this is me signing off, wishing you all engaging games.